Alright, continuing on with our solutions for the systems of inequalities assignment, we're going to take each of our inequalities and just graph them, and then the double shaded regions where our answers are. So we'll make that region a little bit darker. I'm going to take this first one and just subtract x from both sides to get that solve for y. So I'll get y greater than negative x plus 2. So that's my first inequality. It has a slope. It has a y-intercept of positive 2. That's the number not with the x. The number in front of the x is my slope, which is negative 1. If there's no number there, the number's 1. So down 1, right 1, and that'll give me a point, and I can do that lots of different times. Down 1, right 1, down right 1, up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1. So we have that, and that greater than symbol there says I'm going to need a dashed line, because it can't be equal to. So this is going to be a dashed line. And since it says greater than is that away, so I'm going to shade this way on my graph. And now I'm going to take my other inequality and solve that one from y. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And I'll get negative y. Make sure you keep the negative with the y. It doesn't just disappear. So negative y greater than negative 2x plus 1. And then to get rid of that negative, you need to divide everything by negative 1. And whenever you divide by a negative, make sure you change the direction of your inequality so it's not going to be less than. And everything here divided by negative 1 is just going to switch all the signs. So you can get positive 2x minus 1. And so here's my lovely second inequality. It has a y-intercept of negative 1, the number not with the x. The number with the x is 2, my slope. That's a slope of up to right 1, or 2 over 1. It's going to give me a point here, point up here. And I can also go down to left 1. So it's going to be a point there, and a point there. And with that, I need to notice whether or not it's going to be solid or dashed. It's going to be dashed because it can't be equal to. So I'm going to do my dashed line here. Looks something like that. And since it says less than, I need to shade down below my line. That is on this side. And the region to the right side got double shaded. So that's where all my answers are. Just like so. Let me color that in, and it's beautiful, and it lets you know where to find answers. Let's move on to 8. On this one, I'm just going to do practically the same steps. Solve my first one for y by subtracting x on both sides. You'll get y greater than or equal to negative x plus 2. And I'm going to take this first inequality and just graph it. My number not with the x is my y-intercept, 2. The number in front of x, which is not there, which is going to be 1 because there's nothing there, is going to be negative 1. So down 1, right 1. And I can keep doing that to get more points that are on the line. You can also go up 1, left 1 to get more points, like so. And once you have that, you need to determine whether or not it's going to be solid. This one's going to be solid because it can be equal to. So I'm going to draw my line like so. And since it says greater than, the greater than direction is up. So I'm going to shade this side of my line. It looks like that, and it's lovely. And we'll switch over to the next one. When you get the y by itself, subtract 4x from both sides before we start graphing. You'll get y greater than or equal to negative 4x minus 1. The number not with the x is my y-intercept, so I'm going to start right there. The number with the x is my slope, so that's a slope of negative 4 over 1. So I'll go down 4, right 1 will give me a point. So I get a point there. You can also go up 4, left 1, which would be a point right there. And this guy, since it can be equal to, is going to give me a solid line. It looks something like this. And this says greater than. The greater than side is up above. So I'm going to be shading this side of my line. And the double shaded region is where our solutions are. So there's this part here up until you reach the blue and the red line. So So it's just right along the edges there. So there we go. And let's move on to 9. On this one, I'm going to take my first one and again solve for y by subtracting the x part. Subtract 4x. You'll get 3y greater than negative 4x minus 6. Divide everything by 3, and you'll get y greater than, we're not going to switch it because that 3 was positive. Negative 4x divided by 3 is negative 4/3 x. And negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. So there's my first inequality. It has a y-intercept of negative 2, so I'm going to start right there. It has a slope of negative 4/3. It's kind of hard to go down 4 when you run out of graphs, so we're going to go up 4 and left 3 to get a point. It's right there. And since I have 2 points and I have my inequality already figured out, all I have to do now is to draw my line. It's going to be dashed because it can't be equal to the right side. It's just greater than. And since it says just greater than, I'm going to be shading up above my line there. So I'm going to be shading on this side. Just like so. And my other inequality right here, I'm going to start out by subtracting x from both sides. That'll give me negative 3y less than or equal to negative x minus 9. We just need to now divide everything by negative 3. You get y. Since I divide by negative, that needs to switch direction, greater than or equal to. Negative x divided by negative 3 is going to give me positive 1/3 x. Negative 9 divided by negative 3 is going to be positive 3. So here's my second inequality. It has a y-intercept of positive 3. It has a slope of 1/3, as in the number in front of x. That's a rise of 1 and a run of 3. So up 1, right 3 will give me a point here. I can also go the other direction, down 1, left 3, to get the point there. This one can be equal to, so I'm going to be sketching a solid line, just like so. And this guy says greater than. The greater than side is up above my line. So I'm going to be shading up here. This region between the red dashed line and the blue solid line up at the very top is where the answers are. So I'm going to make that region darker. It looks just like that. Let's switch over to 10. My first inequality is already solved for y. It just says y is greater than negative 2. If you want to know what that line looks like, put a point there on negative 2, and then all your x's can change, but your y can't. So you can have all sorts of points here on this horizontal. As long as the y's aren't changing, they're all negative 2. And my inequality says less than, but not equal to, so I'm going to use a dashed line for my line. And since it says less than, the less than side is down below my line. I'm going to be shading this region here. Okay, so there's my first inequality. My second one, I can solve that just by subtracting x from both sides, and I get y greater than or equal to negative x plus 1. The plus 1 part is my y-intercept. The negative 1 in front of the x, since there's a number there, the number's 1, is going to tell me I need to go down 1, right 1 to get other points. So down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. And I can keep doing that, or I can go up 1, left 1. I get a lot of points. And since it says that it can be equal to, I'm going to be drawing a solid line, like so. Put arrows on the end. Since it says greater than, the greater than side is up above my line, so I'm going to be shading like so. And be careful with your shading, make sure you get all the regions even down here, because if you don't do that, you won't realize there's a double shaded region right here in this little corner between my lines. And that's number 10. So move on to 11. On this one here, so on 11, I'm just going to solve my first one for y by subtracting 3x from both sides of my inequality. And actually, that's all you need to do, because now y is all by itself. Y is positive. y is greater than or equal to negative 3x minus 3. And I can graph that. The y-intercept is just negative 3. The slope is negative 3, so it's like going down 3 to right 1. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite fit, so I'm going to go up 3, left 1 to get a point. And I can do that one more time, so I'm going to go and do that. Put another point right there. This one it can be equal to, so I'm going to do a solid line, like a so. That's an arrow. Arrow. And since that says greater than, the side that we need to shade is the up above part. That's this away. And graph my inequality just like so. And then I'm going to switch colors to do my other one. I'm going to subtract x from both sides to get 2y less than or equal to, that's a y. Here, let me, 2y less than or equal to negative x plus 4. Need to now divide everything by the 2. You'll get y less than or equal to negative 1/2 x plus 2. And there's my second inequality. The 2 is my y-intercept. So I'm going to start right there on positive 2. The slope is negative 1/2, so I'm going to go down 1, right 2 to get other points. Down 1, right 2. Or you can go up 1, left 2. And that gives you other points here on the left side. Since I have that, and since that says less than or equal to, I'm going to use a solid line, like so. And since it says less than, I need to shade down below my line, which is going to be this direction. There's a whole region here in the middle between my lines that got double shaded, so that's where the answers are. Double shaded region. Okay, so there's that. And let's finish this assignment out. Let's do 12. Just take your first inequality, subtract x from both sides, you'll get y greater than or equal to negative x minus 3. And that has a slope, y-intercept of negative 3. It has a slope of negative 1. So down 1, right 1 will give me points. Or I can go up 1, left 1 to get other points. I put all these points down here. And since this can be equal to, I'm going to do a solid line, just like so. And since it says greater than, you shade up above my line. So that's going to be this way. Shade, 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 shade. Just like so. And that's my first inequality. My second one, I'm going to use the exact same steps. Subtract x from both sides. I'll get y less than or equal to negative x plus 3. So slightly different y-intercept. But the slope is still the same. Down 1, right 1 to get points. And you can do that quite a bit. Or up 1, left 1. And since that can be equal to my inequality, I'm going to do a solid line, just like so. And since it says less than, I need to shade down below my line. That is going to be this way. And this region here in the middle of these two parallel lines is where the answers are. So I'm going to just make that darker so I know that that's where my answers are. And that one is done. Let's move on to the critical thinking questions at the bottom. On this one, you just have to state one solution to the system. It doesn't say you have to graph it, and so I don't think I'm going to. But you can just kind of guess and check, really, if you want to. But if you don't want to do that, you can graph it, and you can get a solution from that. So a point that would actually work on this is the point 10, 10, and that's because 2 times 10 would give me 20, minus the 1 gives me 19, and that's actually bigger than 10, the y value I've chosen. And if I take 10 and put it in for the x on this one, 10 minus 10 is 0, but 10, which is my chosen y, would be bigger than that. So that's a good, okay point. On this next one, you just have to write a system that contains the solution is all sides in quadrant 1. So if you have a coordinate plane, quadrant 1 is right here in this top right part. That's just going to be where all the x values are positive, so x is greater than 0, and where all the y values are positive, so y is greater than 0, We don't want to include the axes, and so that is it.